So it's that time of year again. All the Formula 1 liveries have been launched. Well, we might see another Haas livery at some point. You don't know at this point, but yes, at the moment all of them have been released, and I'm gonna rate them like I did last year. Though that was towards the end of the season when there had been 14 different liveries. This time there's only 10. I might redo this list later in the year, depending on if there's been any more. Before I get into the ratings, however, I would like to dedicate this video to Seb Patrick, the creator and publisher of the F1 Colors livery blog. He was doing these kinds of livery ratings for 13 years before his sudden death in August of 2020. I'd been following the F1 Colors blog since 2017, and it just won't be the same without his insights. So Seb, wherever you are, this one's for you. So to start off our top 10 worst to best, we're gonna start off with, I've thought long and hard about this, and although I'm not a fan of the Haas livery, I've got to say it works better than the Williams Fw23b. Apparently they're trying to go for this sort of retro vibe for it, and I do get a sort of retro vibe from it, but it's not reminding me of the old Canon Williams, but it's actually reminding me of the 1999 Minardi, which is basically what Williams is at this point in time. The front half of the car looks okay, but the back half, it's a bit odd. It just doesn't work for me, to be honest. It's trying to be too, I don't know, glitch hop or whatever, and it's just not really working. It just doesn't go with the identity of Williams, but then again, it is trying to be a new era. It's trying to move away from the old family run aesthetic sort of thing. I don't know, maybe it's trying to be corporate now, I don't know. Next up, it's the Haas Vf21, and I mean, you can't really go wrong with a white car. I mean, 2008 was full of white cars, but this just comes off as really kind of tacky with all this Russian flag business on it, which the WADA is actually investigating because it might come off as circumventing the Russian flag ban thing. That's a weird thing though, because Daniel Kvyat was operating under a Russian flag last year, and Daddy's boy was too, but for some reason it doesn't count anymore. I don't quite get it, how it's working, but yeah, it comes off as really tacky. Not to mention the humiliation of an American team being emblazoned with a Russian flag. Oh dear. Next up, another Ferrari-powered car. It's the Ferrari Sf-21. Now, aside from its 2014-esque nose, which, yikes, and aside from the bright green Mission Winnow logo, which probably isn't going to be there on every single race, but yeah, that is weird. You've got these sort of, it's like they're trying to keep with the aesthetic of the 1000 Grand Prix livery from Tuscany last year. So they've got a bit of that burgundy on the rear of the car, and the numbers are the sort of hand-painted font that they had last year, but it's I'm not really sure if it goes, to be honest. I mean, I like that shade of burgundy, but it's shinier than the rest of the car, and it just sort of, it looks a bit odd. It's not a bad looking car, to say the least, but it could be better. So yeah, a bit of a lackluster effort from Ferrari this year, in my opinion. Next up, another of the big three teams, of old at least. It's the Red Bull Rb16b. It's just the same livery as last year, basically. And the year before that. And the year before that. And the year before that. And how many years has it been going now? Since 2016? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be its 6th year, I think. Yeah, Red Bull, they're not all that good at changing liveries, it would seem. There are a few differences, but that's mainly in sponsors. You've got Checo's sponsors on there. You've got Honda instead of Aston Martin on the rear wing. That's really the only difference. Oh yeah, and the Honda logo on the nose is a bit bigger. Otherwise, the livery has not changed fundamentally really since 2017, 2016. It's the same. There are people who are saying that it's a modern classic, and I get that. And I'm not saying it's a bad looking livery. It's the same thing we've had now for 5 full seasons. This will be its 6th. If it's the same next year, like old Seb, he would be docking points year after year, because he was doing that with the Toro Rosso livery, and he loved that livery. But after 3 years, yeah, he started docking points. So I've been docking points since this livery was introduced for 2018. Now things are starting to get a little bit more difficult here, because all of the cars from here on in are actually pretty good looking. Mostly. In 6th place, I'm actually going to put the Mclaren here, and that's not because it's not good looking, it's because it's the same as last year, more or less. It's that whole docking points thing. I do like how this car looks, but they've just not changed it really. They've changed the orientation of the lines on the airbox and the side pods. They've added a bit of blue to the nose, but otherwise that's it really. In 5th place, it's the second of the Italian teams. It's Alfa Tori / Alfa Tauri. I'm really not quite sure what to think about this livery. It's definitely not as good as last year. It's still decent. It doesn't look as good on the renders. It looks better in real life, but it just doesn't really have the same pizzazz that the AT01 had. It's just a really average, meh, okay livery, so I decided to just put it in the middle of the list and to say, yeah, it's pretty much where it belongs really. It's okay. It's nowhere near as good as last year's. It's a bit disappointing really, but oh well. In 4th, it's last year's winners, the Mercedes W12. Yes, they kept that black aesthetic like they said they were going to. They put a bit more turquoise on the car, but they got rid of the little rainbows on the wing mirrors, and that's a bit sad. They got rid of all the stars and replaced it with just AMG spam, and that's been memed out, memed to hell and back. Like that AMG spam, it just doesn't work. I would have preferred if it had just maybe been 1 or 2 AMGs and some stars, but just not that much. No, that doesn't work. And I'm also of the opinion that the numbers being just an outline doesn't work. They should be solid colour, flat colour, then they would look quite nice. But otherwise, no. Mercedes, you've let us down a bit this year, but then again, it is Mercedes. They let us down every year, pretty much, when it comes to, losing. Otherwise, the rest of the car looks pretty good. So it's a few aspects of the livery that just let it down, and that's more or less it. Good looking base, but it's the details that kind of ruin it. Okay, now the competition is really hotting up, because in 3rd place, it's the Alfa Romeo. Now this is a very good looking car, but there's just a bit too much white for me. I like the addition of that little bit of green in the form of the quadrifoglio, or the 4-leaf clover thing, whatever it's called, but there's just a bit too much white. I think the red should have carried on a bit further down the nose till at least where the halo support is. I mean, it's still good, but I just wish there was a bit more red. Or maybe make the top of the nose red, because at this rate it will be quite indistinguishable from the Haas from a distance. Because having multiple white cars on the grid, yeah, sometimes it looks like there's one team with a lot of cars. And in second place, though it can sort of be interchangeable with first, it's the Aston Martin Amr 21. This is a very good first attempt for a green car, at least for a team that hasn't made a green car since 1991, which was the iconic Jordan 191. The AMR 21, it's using a sort of retro Aston Martin green. I think they took it from one of the Le Mans races, so that's why it's not British racing green. It's not quite as striking as the old Jaguar green, which I think that was British racing green. I'm not against this colour, it's a bit off though, and those pink stripes for the BWT were originally going to be lime, and it would have looked a bit better if those stripes had been lime. I would also have personally liked the shark fin, the fin on the airbox, to have been black, but I can see why they didn't do it. It might not have gone together, but I wish there was just a bit more lime on the car, maybe some lime somewhere. I think the only lime that is on the car is on the inside of the halo, which is a bit meh, but otherwise it's a decent looking car. Could be better, but it's a very, very, very good first attempt, and green has always been my favourite colour, so however, Alpine has taken the top spot here because wow, Sean Bull, I think his name is, who designed this car, well, the livery anyway. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. The chugginess of the reveal livestream aside, this car is simply a fantastic looking car. This satin blue, which looks metallic on all the renders, but actually it's satin, so it's sort of halfway between being shiny and matte, or sort of shiny matte, if that even makes sense. So it's simply a fantastic looking car. There's a weird bit of solid red on the inside of the end plates though, and that sort of detracts a little bit from it. And the number on the front, on the nose looks good, but on the fin, not so good. It doesn't quite stick out as well as it should. Either it needs to be bigger, or it just has to stand out more somehow, and at the moment it's not quite working. But otherwise, very, very good looking car. That electric blue that worked so well on the Toro Rossos works well here, man. It's a very good looking car, that's all I can really say. So that's my ranking of the 2021 Formula 1 launch liveries. There's been some bangers this year, but a few letdowns. I think overall I'm not quite as fond of the liveries this year as I am of last year, which is a little bit sad. There's only really 3 very good liveries here, but that is just my opinion. Yes, my opinion. Yours may vary, may differ. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night.